Blog Talk Radio.
And here we go.
All right, welcome back to That Nerd Show. It's Wednesday, and we hope that everybody's getting over their the hump of the week. Yeah, I said that. Anyway, I'm your host, Marcus Blake, and with me, as always, co-hosting is Brendan Smith.
How you doing, campers?
And with us tonight, I guess as part of our panel, is Chloe James.
Hey, guys.
So we figured Chloe should be with us as we're talking about our artificial intelligence, and we'll be talking a little bit more in depth on the review on Ex Machina. So we got actually a lot to talk about tonight, and we're going to try to keep it all under an hour and not go off totally off the deep end when it comes to artificial intelligence. So if you need to get your drinks now before we have a theoretical discussion on artificial intelligence with a few wisecracks mixed into it.
I don't have a drink. Boo.
If you only had this mobile phone that you could carry, talk on the air, and do stuff at the same time. Anyway.
I'm stuck at work.
That's nice. Okay, so very first news item, because we've got quite a few little news items for you. So for all of you that actually want to see a full colored picture of Ben Affleck in the bat suit, you can go to comingsoon.net, or you can go to That Nerd Show on Facebook, because we just posted it. And it is much more of the Frank Miller grayish black, as most people have probably figured out. And I'm going to say this, even though we're all very skeptical of Ben Affleck being able to do this role, and the trailer hasn't really convinced anybody that he's going to be good yet, I do like how he looks in the uniform. So I still like Christian Bale better in that Batman universe, but for a comic book, darker tone, like I said, I can definitely see it. And that's all I'm going to say and comment on that photo. So, have you guys seen it yet, or is it still breaking news for you?
I've seen pretty much everything that came out before. I guess you posted that today, I guess, from him.
Okay.
Dude, he looks legit, like, from the comic books. Like, he buffed up. And
yeah, I mean...
I'm okay with that.
I'm not.
You're not?
Look, I figured they're going to get the look right, okay? And I don't mind the dark.
I'm sorry, looking at it now, but has anybody looked more annoyed that they were in the Batman suit? I mean, just look at his body language. His shoulders are slumping. His mouth, it's less of a scowl and more of a frown. He's like frumpy Batman.
Hey, his parents are dead, okay? That's why he...
Well, this is 40-year-old Batman,
not great about
okay? He's allowed to be a little frumpy.
And his parents are still dead. Can't get over that.
Yeah, a lot of people's parents are dead. Get over it.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Speaking of looks, when it comes to costuming and all that, apparently the Jared Leto's look for the Joker is going to be different than the teaser photo they threw out on the net this past week.
Yeah, that was apparently just a promo photo for something else anyway.
Yeah, because that deranged tattoo on the middle of his forehead was stupid.
Yeah.
I'm the Joker. I'm known for dressing up in costumes so nobody can tell who I am, except now I have this deranged tattoo on my forehead that everybody's going to know me by.
I think I finally figured out what the promo picture was for. It wasn't for the Joker. They mixed it up. They had the wrong headline. It was for Requiem of a Dream 2, the next heroin trip.
Oh. Yeah.
I don't know what it was
I'm
for.
Just saying. Well, anyway,
I don't know if I can watch that movie.
And Brendan, this one's going to make you very, very happy. So you should probably already know where I'm going with this. Yes, it was announced that that a Punisher series is in development on Netflix.
Woo!
So we are going to get that.
Is that officially announced, or was that just that rumor that I saw earlier?
No, it's in development. I mean, where it goes from there, that
Yeah, because the one I saw was just a rumor, and it really wasn't all that credible from what the review.
I think they've seen the success of the Daredevil series. And
I know Charlie Cox and Stephen DeKnight both want Charlie Cox wants Punisher as a guest star in season 2. He's already come out and said that. But
well, I think the important thing to remember here is development doesn't mean that it's actually going to happen, and it does pass our double confirmation in regards to journalism. It has been posted by more than one credible source, so it's probably one of those things where, hey, we have it in development for just teasing it, but it's very early. Everything could change. We don't know how it will necessarily fit within what Netflix and Marvel are doing in the Defender series. So. But I like that. I like the direction. Hopefully, I think with the success of everything, I think it's a very good possibility that we do get to see a Punisher series.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good possibility. I don't know. I'm just really, I don't want to get hyped up over it because Punisher is one of my favorite characters, and it works so well with Daredevil. I mean, they've partnered up numerous times in the comics. And the only everything I've found about this rumor is, there's like 10 different sources out there, but they're all referencing the same comic blog. They're all referencing what is this guy, the Vigilantist.com. And
again, that's what development is. So I mean, it does.
No, I mean, to me, it's too much rumor. I'm not banking on anything until I hear something from Marvel.
Well, that's why we're not saying it's a complete done deal. So until they actually announce and slate it, we have a cast. That's what development is. It doesn't. But again, I'll put it to you this way: if we're going to talk about what we can report in responsible journalism and everything, the fact that it's been mentioned, and it probably has among all the characters and things they can do on Netflix, and that's why they can say development. It's gotten past the point of we've talked about it, and we're going to see what we can do with it. Okay? And I think that's what we can report. You're still a long way off, and you have the right to be discouraged or very cautious about it. But like I said, that is out there as a possible series on Netflix, and we will at least report that. So, but this one's for Chloe. Chloe, get a little excited with this one because Dragon Ball is getting its first new anime series in 18 years.
I was going to mention that if you were, didn't I? Actually, I read about that today.
Oh no, it was in my news rundown. So yes, it is coming back after 18 years. So for everybody that's still upset that there's going to be an American movie with Scarlett Johansson. Here you go. Dragon Ball's coming back in a TV series. Yay!
Yay!
To be excited. Okay, this is actually just rumor, but we will talk about it because we like to talk about casting news. And everybody has their own theory on who should play the next Peter Parker. But Asa Butterfield, who was in the Ender's Game movie. He is supposedly the front runner to play Peter Parker in the next Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, I heard about that today too, and I'm actually pretty cool with that because he's a good actor, I think.
Go ahead, Brendan.
Well, my only thing is I hope he looks a little bit older than all the promo photos they're using because I know Peter Parker is young, but this kid looks like he's 4.
This is a baby face. But he's the right age. He's the age that I actually want to start him out.
Yeah, he's 18, but how many times do they actually cast an 18-year-old to play an 18-year-old because he usually looks too young to be around.
Right.
Yeah, we're not used to actually seeing an 18-year-old playing an 18-year-old. So.
Right, because that goes all the way back to when Marcus and I were in high school and they were doing Beverly Hills 90210 and they had a couple of 30-year-olds playing high school kids. So they just and there's a reason why they do that, and it's because when they're that young, they look even younger, and especially guys, because girls develop quicker than guys, and guys don't really start developing until they turn 18. So, it's just you're going to have this kid going. head-to-head with Iron Man and Captain America, it's going to be like, dude, shouldn't you be at home, like, doing your grade school homework? You know, so I don't know. I just hope he looks a little bit older than they're using in the stock photos, because I think they're all from Ender's Game, and that was a couple of years ago. So
yeah, he was like 16 then. So
well, you know, and the other thing is, are they going into production this year on Spider-Man, or is that like a next year thing?
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be he's going to be in Civil War, so that's coming out next year.
Oh yeah, they do. They better cast him soon, I guess.
Well, yeah, they have to, because Civil War starts filming in like 2 months.
Yep. I didn't think about that.
Well, anyway, that's the latest rumor. I don't personally have a problem with this, because I think he's, done a good job in other films. I personally kind of liked, Dylan O'Brien a little bit. Is the other kind of front runner, but we'll see what happens. That's all we can do at this point. Okay, so there was go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to mention another Spider-Man related rumor, that Sony actually might be developing a new Spider-Man animated series too.
Well, there we go.
That would surprise me. I could see that as a way of Marvel kind of sharing the dividends with Sony, being like, yeah, we got him back, but you can still use him this way here. Have fun.
That's something to do. Fun for kids. I might be okay with
it. Okay. So for Star Trek sciencey people, fans out there, Star Trek has always pushed the envelope when it comes to developing new technology. This one actually really caught my eye, as I'm sure it did everybody, that NASA may have invented warp drive. And, of course, it's got a picture of...
Yeah, so it's a little. I posted that one yesterday. It's a little bit more. NASA actually didn't invent this. They kind of got misreported. The company that invented it's called EM Drive. They're out of England. NASA just funded it. But basically, they were in a small scale test. They were able to create an environment that is what they think theoretically what a warp bubble would be. And they were able to pass light beams through it that moved faster than light.
Huh.
So it's like the very first step on the road to FTL travel.
It's a start.
Yep.
Well, and one day we've actually had planned kind of a series of shows of how good sci-fi does push the envelope on technology. What is visualized in fiction, how does it turn out to be true? I know the History Channel does a lot of similar things of, can you actually do this? So I think this
Discovery
is
did
exciting.
Star Wars tech.
Right. So. I mean, it's an ongoing thing. And as nerds, we definitely do want to talk about it. And, we're kind of talking a little bit about it today with artificial intelligence, even though we're looking at it from a storytelling standpoint. So... All right, real quick, in the next 60 seconds, is there any quick gaming news?
Yeah, so we had more info on Star Wars Battlefronts coming out in November. It's going to launch with 4 planets. There's going to be no single-player campaign. There will be single-player missions that you can play single-player or co-op, either couch co-op or online co-op, but there's no single-player campaign for us single-player guys. Battlefront... probably not going to be our cup of tea, although the online play does look amazing. The next Star Wars game is probably going to be what single-player gamers want to play, and that's going to be coming from Visceral next year, and it's going to be written by Amy Hennig, who wrote Uncharted 1, 2, and 3. So that, based on her experience, that's probably going to be some type of third-person with a third-person single-player with a lot greater in-depth story. As far as the big gaming news, for those of you who are huge Konami fans and Hideo Kojima fans, which everybody knows I'm not the biggest Hideo Kojima fan.
I'm sorry, go on.
Well, there's a reason why I can't stand his writing, but anyway, after Metal Gear Solid 5, Kojima is leaving Konami. They've had a very screwed up split, and it's not been handled well in the press. Konami has just bungled the PR on this. We've all known it's been coming for a month, and finally it's all out there. But the real tragedy of this, and even though I don't like Kojima games, I was looking forward to this game. Silent Hills has been canceled. So Silent Hills, which was going to feature Kojima teaming up with Guillermo del Toro and Norman Reedus as the main character from Walking Dead and Boondock Saints. They actually scanned Norman Reedus into the game. They were going to use his voice. That game is no more. So, very sad. The playable trailer, which was probably one of the scariest video game things to come out in years, since probably Silent Hill 2, that gets removed from the PlayStation Store today. So if you want to have it on your hard drive and you have a PlayStation 4, get on the PlayStation Store and download it before midnight, or you will not have it ever. It's being pulled. Excuse me. So that's gaming news.
Well, all right then. So this will probably actually take the next 15 minutes because we do have a lot to talk about. But before we get to a couple of reviews, this was a news item that actually definitely, most certainly, gets put in this week's Sign of the Apocalypse. So it's bad enough that we have to have Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill in a sequel to 21 Jump Street and everything, and then they're thinking about doing another one. But now, just to add injury to insult and really fuck up our nerd world, we're going to have a crossover between 21 Jump Street and Men in Black.
Ugh, kill me now.
This is beyond, all right, look, this is the crossover that nobody needed or wanted. Nobody ever went, you know what would be a great idea? Let's cross over G.I. Joe and My Little Pony.
I'm sure some people have on DeviantArt, but still.
Yeah,
well,
that's different. That's showing off their artistic skills. Look, it's just, seriously, really, that's just awful.
It is. However, I do have something good that can come about with this. I do. One thing. Even though Men in Black 3 was and stuff, I mean, it's, the movies are still fun with Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith, and I think they work well together. But if we get a scene where Channing Tatum's character is really an alien and they're just going to keep shooting his head off, like in the first one, I would be down with that. Go ahead and let's get a crossover. Let's have some fun with that. Okay? And
wow.
I can honestly be okay with a little bit of the crossover if they made fun of Channing Tatum being an alien, like they did with Michael Jackson and Elvis and everybody else, within the Men in Black universe. So if you want that kind of funny cameo that's laughable, fine. But let's not have like some kind of ridiculous serious movie where these two high school cops, which is basically what they are, in some ridiculous after-school special, is going to team up with Men in Black and save the universe. No.
Yeah, some ultra-secret division of the government.
Right. I think Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones have got that part handled. So,
right.
Again, 3 was not that bad. I mean, it was mildly... Yeah, I would definitely watch it.
I mean, I wasn't expecting,
right,
Rosebud and, Citizen Kane. By the way, some breaking entertainment news we may have missed. Are you guys familiar with Aquarius, David Duchovny's new series that's going to be on NBC?
Yeah, it wasn't. I was holding off on that towards the end, so we'll get into that a little bit later.
Okay.
Yeah, I know where you're going with it, but yeah.
Well, it's just how they're releasing it.
Anyway,
we'll get it later.
Yeah, we'll do it for the last couple of minutes with what you should be streaming and explain why you should be doing this in the new format. Which is something else that we're going to be getting into a lot more on this show and about how we review TV shows. So anyway, getting on to reviews, we're going to start with Daredevil first. And we apologize to our fans for not having a review of the Daredevil series out fairly early, but we were covering the Dallas Film Festival, and that's 11 days of craziness out of our lives, and we're just now finishing up all the interviews that we did almost 2 weeks after it's ended. So now that Brendan and I both have Brendan's been through it 2 or 3 times, but I finally got through it.
Yeah.
All I can tell you, I'm gonna preface it with this. I'm easily giving it a 9 out of 10. I'm not giving it a perfect 10 because it's not perfect by any means. Okay, but it has the potential. And Stephen DeKnight, I was a huge fan of Spartacus and what you did with that. And your level of storytelling, you have certainly brought that to something else that I truly, truly love. And Daredevil and a 13-episode series was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And Brendan and I, we talk a lot about our reviews, over pints at the pub, so we had a nice lengthy discussion on this. And this is one of the points that he brought up. And this is what makes Stephen DeKnight great as a showrunner. You feel more sympathy for the bad guys than you do the good guys. And that was so much the case in this series. So
yeah, he takes the time to actually go into what drives the bad guys and gives you as much of their backstory as he does the hero's backstory, so you can almost identify with them as much as the hero. And it makes for very compelling storytelling.
Well, if you're a comic book nerd, you already kind of know the backstory of Daredevil, just like everybody knows the backstory of Batman and Superman and whatnot. Yeah. Okay, you got enough of the backstory from the crappy Ben Affleck movie to know what happens and stuff. The only added difference between watching a crappy movie in this series is you get a little bit more in depth about how he develops his skills. Okay, and the added addition of Scott Glenn's character into Daredevil, again, truly, truly amazing. But it's dark. It's not so campy dark that you kind of ignore it. I mean, it's like, wow, they live up to the name with Hell's Kitchen. Every one of these characters you're afraid of. Okay, you love the really funny, and not to take away from Jon Favreau in the movie, he was great as a little sidekick lawyer, but you didn't get to see that relationship develop and have to deal with trust issues once your best friend finds out your secret. And I know that's kind of a major spoiler. However, it's kind of a given that your best friend usually finds out about what you do.
Yeah.
Or your girlfriend or wife or whatever.
Sooner or later, yeah.
Yeah, and how you have to deal with that. But the evolution of how he becomes Daredevil and the simple fact that you don't get to see him in the suit until the very end, and it's not like Smallville where they made you wait 10 years before you finally got to put on the Superman uniform.
Yeah, right.
I came away after watching the series look, I feel sorry for Fisk. I feel sorry for what he is, and I don't think he is necessarily a bad guy. Yeah, he's corrupt. Yeah, he, doesn't do things on the up and up. Well, hell, I'm from Chicago. That's every politician.
It's the old road to hell, paved with good intentions.
Right, and that's exactly what it is with him. They both have two visions on what's going to make that city great, but they can't work with each other because they're at opposite ends of how to accomplish that. So, like I said, absolutely amazing and making me feel sympathetic for the bad guys while, rooting for Daredevil and everything, and every one of the characters.
You touched on something earlier, too, that I think is a big part of the show. The setting of Hell's Kitchen is very much a character in the show. There's only one problem in real life. The setting Hell's Kitchen no longer exists. The entire neighborhood has been torn down, rebuilt, and gentrified, and it's not even called Hell's Kitchen anymore. I forget what they call it now, but it's been completely redone.
Is it called Shit Town?
No, it's actually very expensive. It's actually a very expensive place to live because, like I said, it's been torn down and rebuilt, and so all the big money. Basically, what Fisk was trying to do has actually already happened in real life. So Marvel did something very clever, and basically they kept calling it Hell's Kitchen, but instead of trying to say that it was it was downtrodden and horrible because it's always been downtrodden and horrible. They very cleverly tied it into the MCU by saying that all the problems were caused by the event, as they call it, or I forget exactly what they called it, but which was the incursion, the alien incursion in the Battle of New York with the Avengers. And so they very loosely tied it into the MCU without getting into, there was a couple other remarks of Captain's shield and Thor's hammer and all that stuff, but they really, that was how they tied it into the MCU without going overboard, but also how they really set up Hell's Kitchen as a downtrodden neighborhood, because it was very important to keep Hell's Kitchen as part of the Daredevil, and really for all of the Defenders, for all the 4 that are coming, because they all operate out of Hell's Kitchen. It was very important to keep that setting as part of the show because it's such an important part of the character. It is a character in and of itself. So I really enjoyed how they handled that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. The color of this isn't supposed to be light and all happy and stuff. I tell you, in a lot of ways, it did remind me of a Tim Burton type of Gotham-esque city from that first Batman movie. Not as comic bookish, but in that darker tone that that there's a major crime element, and this is just a shitty place to live. But I also had special pleasure with the little dingy bar they go to and drink, and especially when they won't make the vodka martini for the pretty blonde. It's like, here, you're going to get what we give you because you're basically drinking for free.
I think it was more like to me it was more like Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy than it was Tim Burton, just because Tim Burton went so over the top with the Gothic styling. Yeah. This wasn't. You don't see flying buttresses in downtown Manhattan or in Chicago like you did in Tim Burton.
No.
You don't see that. But it very much reminded me of the tone of the Dark Knight trilogy. Not that the writing was the same or that the character development was the same, because it's completely different. But just the tone of the setting and the colorizations they used was very much similar.
If there's one thing that Daredevil made me excited for, besides season 2, was I can't wait to see all the Defenders together in that tone, and I can't wait to see more of the villains that are going to be sympathetic, and I just, like I said, truly, truly amazing. And I'm glad that it was on Netflix and that people got to binge watch. So for me personally, again, it's a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, and you convinced me to watch it, which I'll have to admit to the audience I haven't seen it yet because I'm too scared.
See, Chloe.
Yeah.
I shouldn't even have to convince you. You're a nerd.
I know, but as a nerd, I don't like to be hurt. I don't like it. My heart.
It's so much better than the movie. Also, and Kelly, do you have a PlayStation?
Chloe? Okay. Yeah, I
Chloe,
have a PS. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, all of them.
Okay. Do you have a PS Plus membership?
Not anymore. I let it run out, but I could always get another one.
Oh. Yeah, you need to watch Powers as well, because that just finished, so you can watch all 10 episodes.
And we will be doing a review on Powers next week too. Another streaming show that we're going to get into. Yes. Okay.
It's only on PS.
We're gonna do our review on Avengers right now, because Brenda and I have seen it, and we're going to tell you why you should go see it in the theater starting tomorrow. And we don't give a crap about any embargoes by studios or anything. We're just going to tell you about it tonight on our show. You know why? Because we can, and we are that nerd show. I know. Sometimes there's embargo.
It's not like we're going to say anything bad about it anyway. So
no, it's not.
Like they're going to be pissed with us.
Sometimes we have to wait to the very last minute before we release a review, and I don't always like to do that, but it's a give and take. Okay, so here's why Avengers 2 is awesome. It's Avengers 2. No. One of the best things I think about the Marvel Cinematic Universe is how all the movies tie into, pushing the story forward. Okay, and you're definitely seeing what this story is with all of them now after you've seen another Thor movie, Captain America 2, the There's two different like versions of S.H.I.E.L.D. They're still going off of after Hydra, but you're also seeing this team and how they work well with one another after going through their the first major battle and stuff, and this kind of camaraderie and back and forth with one another, but at the same time the differences between them. You have two very opposite like kind of sides of the Avengers. You have the Tony Stark side, the egomaniac scientist, and then the straight edge soldier. We're always going to do what's right. Captain America, which I absolutely love. They're not supposed to get along, but they also kind of need each other, and I think that very much comes through in Avengers too. What made this film great was the introduction of the twins, the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. I definitely like this version of Quicksilver better than what was in the X-Men movie. And you feel very sympathetic for why they hate Tony Stark and why they feel like they need to do what they need to do, only to kind of turn out to be good guys and be part of the next generation of Avengers. Excuse me, everybody. But as for comparing to the first one, which was just probably in my mind the best comic book movie next to Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't think it's as good as the very first movie. Okay, because you had a lot of time to get to know each of these characters, build up their relationships, and how they come together. This one, you just get thrown into all hell breaking loose and what's going on. So there isn't a lot of that development with them anymore. It's just kind of well, here they are now, and now we have to go fight some, the worst enemy they've ever had to face, only to find out that it is partly Tony Stark's fault and his ego getting in the way once again. I would give Avengers 2 an 8 out of 10. I don't give it a perfect 10. My biggest complaints is, while the action is great and there's still, some great one-liners, Brendan mentioned it before, there isn't the big, aha, really great funny line that just keeps you laughing forever, throughout the movie. And I also feel like it was a little bit, I feel like it was a little bit rushed. So, to me, there seems to be, like 20, 30 minutes missing from the film that would tie in scenes. So I'm very anxious to see what the director's cut would be, and I've heard that there is a director's cut coming out from the Blu-ray that will be 2 hours and 45 minutes to 3 hours.
And doesn't have an alternate ending as well?
Yeah, with an alternate ending and stuff. I think that will probably make me push closer to a perfect 10 on this movie. So to me, this is like Kingdom of Heaven. Like I enjoyed the theatrical version, but once I saw the director's cut and how everything really tied into each other, then I was like, that truly is an amazing movie. Yeah, and you need to watch the 4-hour version.
So many movies. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I feel about Avengers 2. I just feel like there's too much missing with this theatrical version, but still a lot of fun and great to see. What about you, Brendan?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought, they didn't have, like I said, they didn't have the one big hilarious moment, but I thought they had 5 or 6 really funny lines that, were pretty good. Thor and Vision had a great little exchange, and the fight between Hulkbuster Iron Man, and I know some comic fans will be like, that's not the Hulkbuster, that's a different thing, and yeah, I know, we're going to call it Hulkbuster because frankly it's easier than explaining that to everybody else. So Hulkbuster Iron Man and Hulk, that had some great lines in it. I thought James Spader as the voice of Ultron was hilarious. He was great. I mean, he's always great though. I'm just imagining Raymond Reddington as a superhuman AI. So that was a lot of fun. It worked. I mean, the movie worked. I don't want to get too spoilery on it, but there were some good lines between Quicksilver and Hawkeye too, and I like how they actually gave Hawkeye a little bit more meat to chew on this time.
Right.
He wasn't just there for half the movie.
I love Hawkeye.
Yeah, I mean, they actually gave Jeremy Renner some. Well, that was really his fault, though. They didn't give him any material to work with in the first movie, and I thought he had a lot more to work with in this movie.
He's kind of like the brainwashed victim, so I mean that was something.
Yeah, and there's actually a fun little line in reference to that too. That's pretty good.
Oh, cool.
But so I thought all in all it worked. I think 8 out of 10 is a fair score for it. I don't think it was the best movie in the MCU yet, but I think it was a very good one. I think it does a nice job of laying the groundwork and setting up Civil War and the Infinity War down the line. Of course, we have to get through Civil War and Thor Ragnarok before we get to Infinity War. But it does a really good job. And it's for the first time they actually name the Infinity Gems what they are. I think Thor comes right out and says what they are. So I thought those were all good things.
Look, you had a great antagonist, and having James Spader as the voice was perfect. The whole storyline with Jarvis and dealing with the artificial intelligence was great. And since we are kind of moving that way into the rest of our show,
tying into the next thing.
I will say this: I love the references to mad scientists. Embrace it. Tony Stark is an egomaniac and wants to keep tinkering with things that he probably shouldn't, but he knows he's not going to stop. And of course he's going to entice his guilt-ridden, science buddy Bruce Banner to do the same. And Ultron very much is the Frankenstein's monster in a lot of ways for them. But to have that storyline which will eventually lead into Civil War and stuff. This is what I was trying to say with Tony Stark and Captain America, very much opposites of one another, but they also need each other. But again, it's going to make things dicey, for the Avengers and for the whole little Marvel universe down the line. But you couldn't have gotten anybody better than James Spader, I don't think, to voice that. And it was nice to actually have Paul Bettany actually in costume on something instead of just hearing his voice. So, but anyway,
and he was very good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now we're not going to say anything about the credit scenes or spoil anything for you on that, but I will say to end this review, the final scene with the new Avengers and everything, fantastic, and I can't wait to see more Marvel movies. And I think that's the good thing about Avengers 2. I still think that the first Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy will probably be the two best movies they will ever do, but that doesn't mean that we don't get to have a lot more fun and that the Infinity Wars aren't going to be exciting. So, nice job setting everything up. Yeah.
Yeah, and they brought in they mentioned Wakanda, which is where Black Panther is from. So
right.
That and the home of vibranium.
Right.
which Spader had a great line about that, but
right. And we're not going to tell you. You just have to go see the movie and see it.
It was funny.
I'll be doing that tomorrow with you guys. Woo-hoo.
That's right. We will be there. And if you're in the Dallas area, we'll be doing our promo night at Cinemark Legacy in Plano. So you should come out and see it. Okay.
And what time will we be there?
We'll be doing the 9:30 screening, but we'll be there plenty of time before. So come hang out. We'll be doing trivia with multiple audiences and also filming a little bit for our documentary Jedis from Dallas as we finally get to see the Star Wars trailer on the big screen, even though we've all probably seen it at least 20 times.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. Okay. We're running out of time, so we got to jump into the rest of our show so we can try to get everything in. Of course, we could probably, with this crowd, we could talk for hours on end, and we won't necessarily do that all night. We know some of you have to get some sleep. But anyway, artificial intelligence. This theme came about because we did a screening of Ex Machina a couple of weeks ago. And if you read Chloe James' review, giving it a 9 out of 10, which I wholeheartedly agree with her on this. It was a fantastic movie. Very the type of movie that will make you discuss things from a theoretical standpoint. I mean, that's what artificial intelligence is, and it doesn't have some weird gimmicky, it's trying to turn on you and kill you like Terminators against human beings. But, I think that the important thing about this film is, what questions do you even ask and stuff with a true AI? How does it develop into trying to be more human and all that? And the best elements of storytelling that we get in the nerd universe is always somebody like Spock or Data from Star Trek, who always has the perfect commentary on humanity. But artificial intelligence is straight trying to learn all the nuances of being a human being, and that's kind of what this film was about. But also trying to do kind of a beta test to determine if it is true artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. So the reason we've coined the title of this show is, "Are we ready for true artificial intelligence?" I think from a storytelling standpoint, we talk about artificial intelligence as the true Frankenstein's monster, that it will eventually turn on you and try to kill humanity. We've seen it, Terminator. For those of you that watch Person of Interest, you've got two warring artificial intelligence units trying to reshape, the world. If you go see Avengers 2, that's basically what Ultron is, and whose idea of reshaping the world and making it better is to destroy humanity and kind of start over. So I'm going to pose this question and everything, besides the title. Even though, like I said, it says, "Are we ready for it?" But I'll go one step further. Should we have artificial intelligence? Chloe, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, that is actually a really good question. I mean, do we need it? How smart do we really need a computer, per se? I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a robot, per se. And you know what? My answer is, because I guess despite being a nerd, I'm kind of a troglodyte, so no. I don't know,
it's that's the point of the question. It's not a straight yes or no question. There's a lot of benefits.
It's no, but that's my answer. No, but I think we should push it as hard as we can up until the point where it could start really thinking on its own and making decisions on its own, nothing against it. It's I actually do have a big secret fear of robot takeovers due to my overactive imagination and watching quite a lot of movies and reading a lot of books. So, yeah. But actually, you know what? I'm even more scared of itty bitty tiny nanobots, probably with AI. Yeah. So yeah, if you ask me if we should have nanobots with AI, God, no, heck no. With the capability of building robots.
I go back to Isaac Asimov, in the robot stories and building and especially with the three laws that, there's no way they can harm a human being and everything. To me, it's a lot of wishful thinking. It's what we want. We want to attain that perfection and to get something that's better than humanity, because humanity sucks.
But, it does suck.
And for any listeners in Baltimore, any fans we might have in Baltimore, you know this better than anybody this week.
That's
sucks.
True. Proof that. But
right.
I would always hope that humanity could achieve greatness on its own rather than having to create something else that's not human.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I'm optimistic.
I read way too much Asimov as a kid, so I'm going to say no. But also, have faith in the human race that we will actually get to that point.
Yeah, on our own.
I have a feeling we will do something stupid to send ourselves back into the Stone Ages, a la the Doom Show Revolution, where it's disease, war, famine, all of the. I'd be shocked if we actually get to that point, because we're so stupid. We may be making the same mistakes for 30,000 years as a species, and we keep right on making them. So I'm amazed we've made it this far. Perfect.
We have this idea that we can make machines that are so supercomputers are so smart that you get information at a moment's notice that can calculate the right decision and then blah 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 blah. But of course we see all these stories about it also thinks logically. Can you really teach a machine, even an artificial intelligence, the true aspect of what it means to be human? Okay?
Mm.
And I don't think there is anything I don't think you can. I think that's what makes human beings great from an evolutionary scale. We are unique in that. I mean, I'm not a sciencey person, and I barely passed it in college. I did keep all my books just for reference. But one of the best books I ever read in college was a book titled The Third Chimpanzee, and it did talk about all the similarities and, that there's only really a difference in DNA, a 2% difference between us. But in that 2%, we develop concepts of religion and, love, and, that's what identifies us as being human, and being better, so to speak, on the evolutionary scale. So how do you, if that's all natural and just comes into being, how can you engineer that into an AI for it to truly understand? Of course, I will also, go back to an Oscar Wilde quote that, experience is the one thing that you can't get for nothing. And it is our experiences that do truly make us, unique and intelligent and develops us as human beings, so to speak. Every story, it seems like well, I was just going to say, it seems like every story that we have about artificial intelligence is just the Frankenstein allegory where shit gets bad.
Together and Well, I mean, and then you could look at it from a data from Star Trek point of view, where he does seek and earn the experiences of the humans around him, and therefore becomes more and more human throughout the series. Yeah.
Well, even they did the Frankenstein allegory too, because remember, Data wasn't the first android that Minion Sung created. There was Lore, and Lore did go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and try to kill everybody. So, even
and
they
of course,
that to some extent.
Well, the Star Trek Generations, when he's debating about putting the emotion chip and all the and everything that comes with it. So, again, I would go that artificial intelligence is wishful thinking. We want to find something that's better, but is it really about building a machine that should be better than human beings, or is it that we should strive as human beings to be better than what we really are? Because, maybe we are just simple base animals that, there isn't, we're not going to get much better than that. We're still going to be dealing with apathy, violence, dealing with right and wrong and trying to get past, Darwinian themes where, we only look out for ourselves, yada, 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 and all that. And you also see the worst of humanity and then trying to bring that back when you deal with post-apocalyptic type shows. That was a great thing about, Jericho, is that was the one true show that said, despite tough times, this is what makes our city great. It's our community. Even though we don't always agree, even though we have an election in the middle of all this, and people take sides, we're still a community and we fight for one another. Especially when the town 8 miles down the road is trying to kill us. So, anyway, I just thought it would be an interesting question to pose, since we are talking about Ex Machina and everything. In getting into that movie, this is probably a little bit more for me and Chloe since she saw the screening with me. One of the things that I really liked about that movie is the machine trying to understand what it means to date, and the concept of love and being attached to that. and also getting past, the creator, not to give anything away, basically just using you as a sex bot, so to speak.
Yeah. Which I read I actually read real life. It might be in our future. You have sex bots.
Yes.
Would you guys have sex with a robot? I'm just wondering.
I
have just a innate fear of putting an extremity into something that generates electricity.
All right.
Just throwing that out there.
That's a good fear to have, probably.
I agree with that fear, but I'll take it a step further and say I've had some ex-girlfriends that could have been a robot. I'm just throwing it out there. We're not going to mention names. Yeah. But for any of them that might still stalk me and pay attention, you know who you are. All I have to say.
I think I would have sex with a robot if he looked like Jude Law from AI.
Wait a minute. But you'd much rather have sex with a guy that looks like Jude Law who's cosplaying the machine, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and here's the other thing about, because Brendan and I are, huge person of interest fans, and that show is just absolutely, kind of incredible with how they refer to the AIs as God, and especially how they're winding down this season. But that's interesting to the standpoint of here you have two different AIs warring with one another. Okay, for supremacy, like there can only be one. It's like a Highlander match or whatever. Can there, if you have artificial intelligence, isn't that always going to be a concept with them as well? There's always going to be one better than another AI. I must go to war with it, and I must suppress that somehow, because just because slavery's dead and all that, we still, in a human society, live with it that one class is better than another class, or these group of people are better than those other group of people, and whatnot. To me, that just seems inevitable with two versions of artificial intelligence. That's where I think person of interest actually gets it right. Is you can't have that perfection where we're all going to live in peace and a perfect utopia. I don't think utopia ever exists. That's the whole point of Lost Horizons. James Hilton is there is no such thing.
Well,
and
I suppose it depends on the programming of the AI and how their core programming started. With the person of interest, AI, they were both programmed to seek out. They were specifically programmed to seek out threats. Well,
right.
Another AI seeking out a threat would be a threat to the first AI. So, it really depends on the core programming, I think, of the AI of how it starts. Because yes, it's an AI; it can think for itself, but its core programming would be its DNA, so to speak.
Right.
What it was originally programmed to do. So, I really think it comes down to that when it comes down to whether or not they coexist. And obviously, in person of interest case, they wouldn't and couldn't and shouldn't and don't.
Right.
But in other cases, you're talking about, like, for example, in the iRobot scenario, you're talking about a bunch of bots that were made to serve humans. Well, They're not threats to each other. They're just threats. So I think it really depends on that part of the story.
Well, and that's a good example of, taking out the human element, because in the movie, I really do. I love the part where they explain that the reason he was rescued is he had a higher survival rate than a child. But a human being would be able to make that distinction based on emotion or hunches or whatever. And you can't teach a machine that. For better or for worse, the late Robin Williams, I always think Bicentennial Man is one of the best movies he ever did. I'm not saying that the movie was necessarily great compared to, the actual story, but for a movie and with him, with his dramatic and comedic, range and everything, and the cast itself, just that exploration and finally, after 200 years, be like, what does it take for me to be classified as a human being? What threshold do I actually have to achieve? Because even he evolves, even with new equipment, it evolves over time into something, on an evolutionary scale, even though it may be different than what it is for human beings.
Yeah, and it was all about the experience again, too.
Again, and he did. He experienced love and heartbreak and all the things that humanity, goes through. And it's not that I'm not sympathetic to Data. I will always love Data from Next Generation. But I think that, Bicentennial, that character experienced a lot more of those human things than Data ever did. He was just still the commentary on humanity itself. So, it's a debate that will keep on going, and I think it'll be very interesting to keep talking about artificial intelligence, because I think that eventually we will have that. But I also think that the allegory of Frankenstein, it's when we push the boundaries of technology, especially with artificial intelligence, then that's a good story to continue to pay attention to, because it does ask the question. And which, I will take a line from Jurassic Park. You never bother to ask the question of whether you should do it.
Yeah, it's not whether you
only
could.
cared about whether you should. Yeah.
Right. So, anyway, okay. Got about 3 minutes left, so yes, we're going to get into kind of breaking news on what we wanted to talk about earlier in our segment of what you should be streaming. We used to do this for just what to be watching on Netflix, but we have broadened our category on what you should be streaming, and the main reason is that is the way TV is going. And I think Aquarius, but with David Duchovny, is, perfect example. It is still airing on NBC at its regular time slot, but they have put all 13 episodes on NBC.com and on demand, so you can watch and binge watch it instead of waiting every week like you used to. So I applaud NBC for going that route and saying, we know people will watch it at regular time, but with, as busy as lives are and with DVRs and whatnot, why don't we just let people stream and binge watch this stuff more and more? So
yeah, and that'll be on after the first episode, which I believe is May 28th. I think is the first episode. So immediately first episode, all 13 go to streaming, and it looks really good. It's about the guy chasing down Charlie Manson. So
right,
it looks interesting.
And you've got the guy who played Renly Baratheon. In the first season of Game of Thrones.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. And
I like him.
With David Duchovny going much more to an investigator role. So when that hits, I think everybody should be streaming it, and we will definitely do a review. That's kind of where our formats are going now, is we're not going to do episode reviews anymore. We're going to talk about, our TV reviews are going to be very simple. We will talk about the season premiere, especially when it's dealing with a cliffhanger. We will do a full season review, especially with those that, you can binge watch 10, 13 episodes. And then we'll talk about, if it's regular network TV, the oh my God moments, which happen on our shows. Our blogger, Allison Costa, texted me today and said, can I write about the oh my God moment on Flash? Because it was a pretty biggie yesterday. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
We won't make our audience wait for the full season review. So, all right, we got about a minute here, so we're going to close this show out. As I mentioned earlier, if you're in the Dallas area, come watch Avengers 2 with us tomorrow at Cinemark Legacy in Plano. And we will be back next week. We do not have the final details yet, but pay attention to our website and Facebook. But we will be doing a special May the 4th episode on Monday for Star Wars, and we're going to be telling you all of our theories of Episode 7 and what we think is going to happen. And you should stay tuned for that. So, and Brendan's got a lot of them.
Sure enough.
Yeah. All right, everybody, we are out of here. Say goodbye, and we're going to close this show out.
Bye-bye.
Adios, muchachos.